There is a moment if you walk slowly enough through a forest edge or a backyard shrub when the plant life seems to stare back at you. A twig seems to have an extra thorn that wasn't there before. A spine seems a little too perfectly placed. And then it moves. On today's episode of Insects for Fun, we learn about one of the best plant impersonators in the insect world. An insect so committed to disguise that it doesn't just hide on plants, it becomes part of them. Thorn bugs belong to a group of insects commonly called treehoppers. Entomologists know them as the family Membracidae, a branch of the true bugs that include cicadas, aphids, and leafhoppers. One thing to note though is that these guys are small, often no bigger than a fingernail. But what they lack in size they make up for in audacity. Thorn bugs wear exaggerated helmets, spines, crests, humps, horns, and ridges. Structures that rise from the thorax like organic plant material, and sometimes make up the entire body of the bug. This is exactly why some look like genuine thorns. Not all of them, though. Others may look like seed pods, leaf scars, fungi growths, or broken twigs. A few even look like something dreamed up by a surrealist sculptor with a degree in bio. The name thornbug is literal because many species look the part so closely that even predators simply overlook them. Have you ever seen an animal try and eat thorns? I haven't. Even spiders don't bother with them. One well-known species, Umbonia crassicornis, is often literally called, quote, the thorn bug, unquote. Umbonia comes from umbo, meaning shield, bump, or raised center, and the species name, crassicornis, means thick-horned. So their common name is easy to understand, but what about the family name Membracidae? This comes from the New Latin word membracis, meaning a thin skin or membrane. But that doesn't seem quite right, does it? Well, if we dig a little further, we find this word actually came from the Greek word membrax, which is in reference to a cicada. And it should be no surprise to you that these bugs are similar to cicadas. They're true bugs after all, but they also kind of resemble miniature cicadas if you get a good look. Okay, let's get into that weird anatomy and the famous helmet. In most insects, the pronotum is just a modest plate behind the head. It's the first part of an insect's thorax, but in thorn bugs, this is where all the magic happens. The pronotum on these bugs grows upward and backward, sometimes forming sharp spikes and sometimes branching or making elaborate curves. Importantly, these are not extra body parts added on like antlers. They are expansions of the insect's exoskeleton. And in the classic thorn bug, it takes up so much space that it makes the whole bug look like a thorn. This is really useful to avoid a predator scanning for soft-bodied prey. Thorn bugs, like all bugs, undergo incomplete metamorphosis. They hatch from eggs as nymphs, miniature versions of the adult, without wings, and grow into their crazy adult forms one molt at a time. Nymphs cluster together on stems or leaf veins. They already have small spines or bumps, hinting at the helmet they will grow into, but they are still small and vulnerable when separated. As a result, nymphs are very communal, often clustering together on stems and feeding together in one spot for long periods of time. Many species of nymphs also rely on protection from both their mothers and aunts. Thorn bugs feed on plant sap using piercing mouthparts called stylets. They tap directly into the plant's vascular system, siphoning sugary fluids rich in carbohydrates. Sap is abundant but low in protein, which means thorn bugs need to process a lot of it. The excess sugar exits their bodies as honeydew, a sticky sweet liquid, and it's this honeydew that builds their ant alliance. Honeydew is candy for ants, and ants, as you know, are excellent bodyguards. Many thornbug species form mutualistic relationships with them. The ants harvest honeydew directly from the bugs, stroking them with antennae to encourage release. In exchange, ants aggressively defend the thorn bugs from predators and parasitoid wasps. If a lady beetle larva approaches, ants rush in. If a spider sets up shop nearby, ants dismantle the web. The thorn bugs remain motionless, feeding and reproducing under armed protection. Okay, so what about those mothers that I mentioned earlier? Maternal care in insects is not unheard of, but it is far from universal. Thorn bugs are one of the few groups where mothers often stick around. A female may lay eggs on a host plant and remain perched above the nymphs after they hatch. She positions herself like a living shield, using her spiny pronotum as a deterrent. When disturbed, she may buzz her wings or jerk her body in warning. Combined with ants, this makes a thorn bug nursery one of the most well-defended places on a stem. But what kind of stems are we talking about? Thorn bugs are often picky eaters. Many species specialize on certain plant families or even specific plant species. Some prefer legumes, others target oaks, acacias, or shrubs with existing thorns, where their disguise blends in seamlessly. This specialization actually ties their life cycles tightly to the health of their host plants. The timing of egg laying, nymph growth, and adult reproduction all depend on when those plants are actively growing, producing new stems, and pumping sap. If a host plant is stressed, pruned back, or declines, then thorn bug populations can drop quickly. Over long periods of time, this close relationship also drives the evolution of their shapes, since looking like the wrong kind of thorn on the wrong kind of plant can be a deadly mistake. A thorn bug on an acacia may look very different from one living on a smooth-stemmed shrub. But what are they trying to hide from? Despite their armor and deception, thorn bugs do not live in a world without danger. A sharp-eyed bird that spends enough time foraging among branches may eventually learn that not every thorn is what it seems. Parasitic wasps can slip past defenses to lay their eggs inside vulnerable nymphs. In crowded colonies, microscopic enemies like fungi can spread quietly, turning safety in numbers into a liability. Even so, when you zoom out and compare thorn bugs to many other soft-bodied insects, they live remarkably long and relatively undisturbed lives. Their entire body plan reads like a carefully written warning label: hard, sharp, and not worth the effort. Most camouflage is about disappearing. It is about blending into the background so completely that a predator never notices you in the first place. Thorn bugs follow a different philosophy. They do not vanish. Instead, they stand out as the wrong kind of thing. A predator scanning a branch sees them clearly, but its brain makes a mistake. That shape is a thorn. That outline is a spine. And thorns are not food. By advertising themselves as something unpleasant or useless, thorn bugs short-circuit the decision to attack. This is known as masquerade camouflage, and it is astonishingly effective. So effective, in fact, that some thorn bugs can afford to be bright green, yellow, or even red. They're really not trying to hide. They're just trying to be misidentified. And this strategy did not appear overnight. Treehoppers show up in the fossil record tens of millions of years ago, and their earliest ancestors likely carried only modest bumps or ridges on their backs. Even a small protrusion that made a predator hesitate would have been enough to tip the scales in favor of survival. Over countless generations, as predators learned and adapted, natural selection pushed thorn bugs toward more extreme forms. Longer spines, sharper angles, stranger silhouettes. What followed was an evolutionary arms race that sculpted some of the most bizarre body shapes in the insect world. I mean, seriously, some of these things are absolutely alien looking. Okay, let's get into some cultural and human connections. Thorn bugs, unfortunately, rarely feature in myths or folklore. They're too quiet, too easily overlooked, and too perfectly disguised. But among entomologists and insect photographers, they are minor legends. Spotting one of these feels less like finding an insect and more like uncovering a secret. They're also powerful reminders of how much life surrounds us unnoticed. A thorn bug can live on a backyard plant for weeks without being seen. Ecologically, thorn bugs are small but influential players. Their feeding affects plant health, their honeydew supports ant communities, and their presence reshapes local predator behavior. They sit quietly inside complex food webs, helping energy and nutrients move through ecosystems. They also offer a broader lesson about evolution, because survival doesn't always favor speed, strength, or intelligence. Sometimes it rewards patience, subtlety, and the ability to convince the world you are not worth noticing at all. So the next time you brush past a thorny plant, maybe pause for a moment and check to see if it's not insects that you're looking at. The spines on those plants might just be watching you. And that's going to wrap up this episode of Insects for Fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, make sure to rate the show 5 stars on whatever platform you listen. And you can leave a review too over on Apple if you happen to listen there. Now, of course, if you want more bonus episodes, ad-free episodes, and vlogs, then you can go check out the Patreon and support me over there. It's super helpful, and I appreciate all of my patrons so much. Of course, you can also spread the word if you don't want to be a patron member, because that is equally helpful. Just go out and tell some people you think might be interested. Hey, I got this cool insect podcast you might be down to check out. All right. That's going to be it for today.